So this is part 2 of our custom add to cart notification email plugin. In the first video we created an add to cart event, and you can see that here when we look at the inspect this element. You can see that we have an event and we called it add to cart events JavaScript, and that's the jQuery event that listens for the add to cart. So now we're going to move on and show how we're going to create the email notification based on that add to cart click. So the first thing we need to do here is set up the basic structure for our jQuery. So this is our end of our click function, and we want to add a few things within the click function. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do an AJAX, and I'm just going to put the basic structure on now, and then I'll show you why in just a minute. Now within the AJAX, we're going to use a method of post. And the URL, I need to talk about the URL. If this is at the back end of WordPress, we would just say AJAX URL, and that works great. However, the purpose is to send this to someone who may or may not be logged in. So I'm going to leave that just for a second like that, but we're going to change that, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So this, for the moment, is just going to be a placeholder because we're going to fix this in just a second. We are going to send over some data, and it's going to be like this. The action, we need to send it to a WordPress action, and let's just call this custom add to cart add action. And this is specific, and we're going to create this action and a callback function in just a minute. So we need to send over an event variable. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. And we're also going to send over a nonce. So we need to define this event. So we're going to set up a JavaScript variable. And I'm going to copy and paste this because I have this over here just for sake of time. It's going to be exactly add to cart clicked. So we define the event right here, and then we send the event through post right here. And we also need a nonce. And so let's move on. When we send the data over, we need a done function. And we're going to define this like this. In the done function, what we want to do is we want to write to console for debugging and make sure that we have the data that we expect. So we do console.log and then just say something like made a successful AJAX call. And then we're going to add on the end of this the data so that we can inspect it. So that is our done function. We also need, well, what happens if it fails? So we need a fail function. And this needs a semicolon on the fail function. And so we're going to also write to console. And this time it's going to be a failed AJAX call. And then we want to know why. So let's output the data. So I'm going to create a new folder. Just call it INC for ink. And within this folder, I'm going to create a new file. And this is going to be our process AJAX PHP. So we need to start off with an action hook, and WordPress processes AJAX like this. You do WP underscore AJAX, and then we have two options, either the back end or the front end. So we're going to do them both. For the front end, for non-logged in users, we're going to use no priv. Now the next underscore here, what we do is we go in, and this action right here. We're going to copy it exactly. And we're going to paste this after the last underscore. So this is the front end where they're not logged in, and we have to use a callback function. And so we're just going to call this an Ajax handler. Okay. Now, we're also going to want to run this for logged in users. So I'm going to copy and paste this. And then we're going to take out the no priv. Now we need to define our handler. So this is a callback function. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check to make sure that we have our nonce set. Before we do that, we have to create our nonce. And so we're going to go back to functions real quick here. And remember when I told you that if we use Ajax URL, this is only for logged in users. So we need to define how we're going to send this Ajax over for non-logged in users. And we're going to do that right here. So we have, we're going to do a localize script. So this is WP localize script. And we're going to use the same name, which is the add to cart script right here. But what we want to do is we want to do a front end Ajax. So I'm just going to put that in single quotes. And we're going to send an array of arguments. And I'm going to drop this down so that's easier to read. So the Ajax URL we're going to say admin URL because we have to define where this is going to be for the front end. And that's going to be admin-ajax PHP. Now the second argument we're going to send, and this is where we're going to send our nonce. And if you don't know what a nonce is a unique number used only once, and it basically is a security feature that says that this Ajax call is where you think it's from, which is from your WordPress site instead of someplace else, because Ajax is so powerful. If a hacker could easily get into there and execute a script that you don't want. So we're going to send a nonce. I'm just going to put this over so that when it tabs, it looks good here. And we're going to use the function WP create nonce. We're just going to call this Ajax underscore nonce. Now here we need a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and include our process Ajax form that we created right in here, which is this one right here, process Ajax, because we need this in order for this to work. So we say require once. It's in the include folder. All right, now let's make sure that I haven't typed an error. And everything is fine. All right, let's move back over to our process Ajax. And so now we have the nonce. And this is called, the nonce name is Ajax nonce right here. So we have to do a couple of things to make this work. In the Ajax handler, we're going to check the nonce. So we're going to do that like this. We're going to say check Ajax refer. The name is Ajax nonce. Okay, so now when the Ajax call is made, if this nonce is not correct, it's not what WordPress thinks it is, it's going to automatically exit. And I'm going to show you that, I'm going to prove it to you in just a few minutes. So we need to send some information over to the handler. And we're going to do that using jQuery. So here is an event that we're going to send, which is this string, add to cart clicked. And that's only going to be set if we have the add to cart button clicked. And we're going to send it right here. And now we're going to send the nonce. So the difference that we have to do is, remember this was for the back end, so we need to add in, we need to send it, excuse me, to the correct URL, which we just defined, which is front end Ajax dot Ajax URL. So now we're going to send this specifically to the URL that we just defined. And then the nonce, instead of, see, normally there are a couple ways you could send this. If you define the variable up here, and maybe you retrieve it from a hidden field or something like that, then using jQuery, that's one way of doing it. But we have defined it already, so we're going to do it from the front end Ajax nonce. So let's go over to our process Ajax and see how we're going to work with this information that we're sending over using the post method. So assuming that the nonce is correct, we're going to say not that. If we have set via post the variable event, what are we going to do? We're going to define the variable event is what we posted, which is the exact same thing we have above. Now, we're not going to trust any data at all that is sent over, so we're going to sanitize this. We're going to say that the event, or I'm just going to use a PHP function, which is filter var. And that's saying that this variable event, sanitize it using a filter sanitize string. I'll just copy and paste it from over here. It's going to be quicker than typing it. And that's why that'll help prevent you from SQL injection, and it'll sanitize that and strip out any tags and make it safe to process. So now we need a condition here. So if the event is equal to and exactly add to cart clicked, need the parentheses, if so, then I'm just going to say that a variable called process is equal to true. If not, process is equal to false. And we're going to use this variable to move on or to not move on. Now I need a default Ajax message, and I'm going to just call this Ajax message. I'm just going to say not clicked. And we're going to change that if it is clicked. So if the process is equal to true, meaning this, that the event sent is exactly add to cart clicked, and that's sent over by the post. If this is exactly equal to true, then what are we going to do with it? Basically right here we're going to send the email, and I'll do that in just a second. I just want to have the basic structure typed out so that you know where we're going. We are going to send back by Ajax a data array. And in this, we're going to send a message. And that's going to be our Ajax message. And I want to output whatever the process is so that it can be debugged. And we'll send the variable process. And we want to echo this in a JSON encoded format. And at the end of our Ajax, we're going to die. We don't want this to continue. So basically it works like this. We check the nonce, we check if the event is posted, we sanitize it, and set our process variables. If the process is true, send the email. If it's not true, then the AJAX message will be not clicked, because we're going to change that to clicked right here. So you can send mail with a built-in WordPress function called WP Mail. It's really simple. It just requires a few arguments. You need a to, a subject, a message, headers, and any attachments. It's as simple as that. And if we're in this process of equal to true, we're going to change our AJAX message to clicked. That means that it was clicked, everything works correctly, and we're going to send it back right here as yes, it was clicked. So you can now, there are a couple things you can do here. You can manually type in, so I'm going to add in a site information into my message, which is going to, all you have to do is say get blog info, not for, and this will retrieve the site name. Now the to, I'm just going to type in as just for debugging the to field. Now you can also add in here, an admin name, and we can get that in a second. But for now, I'm just going to do this to. The subject is going to be add to cart event on. Now I'm going to concatenate the site, so that when the subject comes in and you have it in your email, because maybe you have this on multiple sites, maybe 5 or 10 sites, you'll know exactly which site this add to cart event came from, because we're going to echo out the blog name. Now in the message field, type anything you want. I'm just going to say your site and concatenate in the site name. Add an add to cart event. And the attachments are going to be null, because we're not going to send them anything over. And I think we are about ready to test this. Unexpected post variable. Oh, need an equal sign. And boy, I'm consistent, aren't I? I have a cold. I wonder if that has to do with my lack of equal signs, because I did it 3 times in a row. All right, so now this, you can see I'm using a plugin, and we are in the logged in area. So I'm at the front end and I'm logged in. So I'm going to send, so we got a failed message. Let's see what's going on here. And going back over here, look, we have 2 subject, message, headers, attachment, but we don't have any headers. So I forgot this. We don't have to send any headers, but if you don't include it, it's not going to work. So over in my debug log here, it says here that we have a call to undefined function check AJAX refer. So it looks like I've typed that wrong. And there are not 2 R's in refer. Okay, great. That worked. Now you can see what's going on here. This is the logged in area. We're waiting for the response. So let's see if we can get it. There we go. PHP is near, so we've got another error, but we're getting close. All right, so JSON to code expects parameter 1 to be a string array given. That should be very easy to fix. Oh, well, it's not decode. It's encode. Sorry about that. All right, so I had to wait a second, and now everything works correctly. The reason you saw a delay there was simply because the function that we wrote, it was sending the email before it echoed out the JSON response. So you can see what's going on here by looking at the XHR tab, this custom add to cart action event, and here you can see that we're sending over this nonce right here. Now, I'm going to show you what happens when we delete the nonce. So here's the nonce that we're grabbing from the function we used. Let's comment this out, and I'll take out this comma. And then let's refresh the screen and do another test. And see, we're going to get a forbidden right here. And the reason is, now we're no longer sending over a nonce, and our nonce check worked, which is right here. So it didn't find the nonce, and you have a 403 forbidden, and we have a failed object call, failed AJAX call. So there you can see what's going on and the importance of the nonce. So let's put the nonce back in and save. And now let's go check and look at, see if it sent an email. So I have a plugin, a mail logging plugin, so that I can test on localhost. And you can see that there are the add to cart event. On dev site, you can see that dev site is the name that I've called this. And then in the message, your site, dev site, had an add to cart event, which is the exact message that we have. So let's test one more time. So here is a window where we are not logged in, because you can see that I don't have the debugging. And so this is a customer that's just browsing around, and maybe they do an add to cart. So let's see what happens. And there's the successful AJAX call. And if you look at the parameters tab, here is the add to cart event, and here is our nonce, and here is our message, and that is that it was clicked and the process is equal to true. So this works. So when we go back over to here, we had 3 before. I'll refresh the screen, and I will have 4. Because that was a front end user, and it'll be the same message. And that's saying that we had an add to cart event clicked. So that is how you send a custom add to cart event using jQuery and AJAX to send an email using WordPress. I hope you found this helpful, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment in the description below. Have a good day.